All right, fellas, this is the final installment, at least for now, the final installment of the I Hate Ginyu slander. I'm tired of the Ginyu slander. Twitter timeline be fucked up, bro. Uh, just the reason why this all started is I was seeing some people really talking shit about Ginyu, and I have to completely and utterly disagree with them. So I think you can look at Captain Ginyu's team and say that it has flaws, certainly. The way that Captain Ginyu is designed, he wants to be run with a lot of Ginyu Force units. So he actually gets an additional up to 50% attack and defense with each Ginyu Force ally on the team. So it's really important for him to have mostly Ginyu Force allies, right? And honestly, his leader skill, you can kind of look at Planet Namek Saga and Terrifying Conquerors. Dog. Planet Namek Saga, dude, you're not running anyone exclusively from Planet Namek. Like, what are you running, Namek Goku on Captain Ginyu's team? Like, what are we doing here? So it is certainly a bit of a goofy leader skill in that way. And keep in mind, this is the very first 200% leader skill after the 7th year anniversary, at least on JP, right? Remember, he came out just before the anniversary over on the global side of Dokkan, but... So I think you could easily say that, like, dude, Planet Namek Saga is just like it's just a wash, right? This is basically a Terrifying Conquerors team, because all of the Ginyu Force units fit on Terrifying Conquerors. You're not running any super class Planet Namek Saga units. The only, like, Planet Namek Saga, but he's also a Terrifying Conqueror, that you'd be running would be like AGL Full Power Frieza, who also fits in on that Namek Saga portion of the leader skill. But again, like, he fits in on the other part of it too. So anyway, this is, like I said, the no item run against Broly, as you can see. So this run requires quite a bit of stuff, right? It requires some premium units, lots of dupes in your characters, and definitely some big time RNG going your way. When I started this sequence, when I was really kind of testing the waters against Broly, I was bringing a lot of tech units. By the way, we're going to talk a lot about Metal Cooler in this run. Absolutely just a fucking goat, dude. Metal Cooler is so incredibly good on this team. Absolutely loved having him on this team, linked up with LR STR Cooler. But when I was first tinkering around with team builds, I wanted to bring a lot of tech units, right? I mean, it makes sense. AGL Broly, probably the most powerful AGL boss in the game. I guess maybe you could say that AGL Sin Shenron in that fight that doesn't exist on global yet, the Birth of the Shadow Dragons or whatever the hell event that is. That in that very last fight, that AGL Sin Shenron is quite tough too. But I think AGL Broly, probably the toughest AGL boss in the game, so hey, makes sense. Let's bring a lot of tech units. Well, the amount of tech units that fit in on Ginyu's leader skill are non-existent. I don't want to say non-existent, but there are not too many that fit in on his leader skill. Basically, it was like the free-to-play LR, Goku, Ginyu, and Ginyu Force. And you're looking at one of them, right? So Tech Gold and Frieza is another one that is at least semi-usable. But what ended up happening, that Ginyu dude, he was getting blasted every single time. Every single time he was getting blasted by that STR Broly's AoE attack. He was just getting absolutely just blitzed. I couldn't survive, dude. I couldn't survive with him on the team. Unless there was just some godly luck run where AoE Broly didn't super like 2 turns in a row or some shit like that. Like, there was just no possible way that it could be done. It just, at least from my experience, I was having a rough go of it. So kind of surprising, I would say, that on this team we have one tech unit, and it's Tech Golden Frieza, who I complained about in my last video, who I probably shouldn't have brought on the run. But in this particular case, having type advantage and 70% damage reduction, he was good enough. So he was taking away a lot of Broly's oomph, you know, a lot of the mustard, if you will, on that 1.2 million damage super attack. So he definitely proved his mettle here. But speaking of metal, let's go ahead and talk about LR, Metal Cooler, everyone's favorite Carnival LR that they love to hate, right? So look at Cooler, dude. So that's the second time he's got that in this video against this Tech Broly. He saved us a lot of damage there. Almost any other unit on this team is taking damage, short of like AGL Golden Frieza, who would take like 40k or something like that. He saved us a lot of damage, not once but twice. You know, you kind of get lucky and you put him in the spot where the super attack occurs. In the first and second phase, he can absolutely just clutch some stuff out like this. And people act like he can literally do no damage, and he just absolutely has no defense, no utility, and it's just bullshit, right? LR Metal Cooler was absolutely worthy to be released alongside the in the worldwide download celebration. He's absolutely worthy of an LR. I feel like his performance in this stage is just point proven, right? Like, he is just absolutely just a GOAT, right? So being able to nullify, take 0 damage on the unarmed super attacks, with them introducing more and more of those into the game, he's going to be useful down the line. Recall that he has the revive, the most epic revive in the game. It's, you know, you kill Metal Cooler and he gives you a 100% heal. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It really is ridiculous. On top of the nullification, as I just mentioned, he can do damage in the right situation. Now, we're not rocking really any support units short of AGL Captain Ginyu, but he's not really supporting LR Metal Cooler here. So, again, not even being on the 200% leader skill, I think he proved to be a very, very formidable ally on this team. Now, that in and of itself is problematic. He should definitely be on fucking Space Traveling Warriors, dude. I don't know why he isn't, but he just isn't. So, again, he can put up like 7 million's nothing too crazy. Keep in mind, this is a 1-dupe Metal Cooler, so he's not rainbowed. He massively stacks attack on his 18-key super, raises defense for 1 turn, and then he raises defense for 1 turn on his 12-key super attack. So you get him enough offensive stacks, and with a little bit of support on rotation, he actually can. I've had him hit, you know, 11, 12, 13 million before. I mean, he can get up there in terms of the damage numbers. Now, as I mentioned, not on the 200% leader skill and no support on this team, at least support for him. So, I think he easily, I mean, he was tanking Broly double digits there. In this fight, and in most red zone fights, you can't really ask for much more than to tank double digits on normals when you're type disadvantage. Just these red zone stages, these bosses, dude, you've got Broly, this AoE Broly who can hit you, he does, when he super attacks, he hits you 800k in each slot. I mean, that is so tough to defend. Having done this fight so many times, there is certainly something to be said with having a bit of experience, you know, running the same team over and over, getting so close. I got Broly down to 1 health bar like 5 fucking times, dude. And then other times, you know, he'd blast me, you know, the AoE phase would kill me, and that would be that. So there was a lot of ups and downs when running this, but you kind of learn the tendencies of the bosses, and you kind of know the capabilities of your units. So anyway, man, kind of getting back to LR Metal Cooler, I think he's really, really good. He does have the active skill, which does damage, which the damage is cool, right? This was a very fortuitous super attack, right? We had 3 of the, you know, best options for this AoE to be on this same rotation, so that worked out really well. But the active skill heals you by 30%, which it just cannot go understated how helpful his healing is. So if you start the turn below 50% HP, he's healing you 20%. And if you're over 50% HP, he heals you 10%. Active skill, he heals you 30%. On the revive, he heals you 100%. So he's very good, man. I really like LR Metal Cooler. I feel like people have forgotten about Metal Cooler. Maybe you didn't summon for Metal Cooler. Maybe you don't have him. He's never technically, well, not even technically, he's never returned on a banner here on Global. Only on JP has a return, and it's for the anniversary. So this is a big boy decision right here. Do I go for the kill on AoE Broly, or do I try to eke out 1 more stack and maybe save the active skill for AGL Broly? And honestly, your guess is as good as mine. So I decided to go ahead and go through with the active skill and just kill AoE Broly, because that wasn't a very good rotation. It wasn't a very nice rotation if we don't get super attacks first. LR Metal Cooler would die. Obviously, we'd get the revive, but I'm trying to, hang on to the revive as long as I can. And I wanted to get that awesome win screen, by the way. Of course, it ended up working out in the end. I wanted to get rid of AoE Broly. That was kind of the choice I made, and that's what I went with. Now, no more bye-bye Cooler active skill, right? That active skill by Cooler, we can talk a little bit about Cooler, right? That active skill by Cooler, man, is absolutely devastating. If you get a big crit, remember Cooler is stacking attack when you're doing 18 key super attacks with him, so he can really start to ramp up the damage, man. And then of course he can like quintuple super attack and shit. Like he's still one of the best units in the game. His offensive prowess, there's really not too many units who can do it like him. Although I will be curious to see how this new Piccolo Jr. performs. He kind of reminds me of a kind of a worse version of Cooler. And then again, we're getting very lucky with where Broly is targeting the super attacks. Now, a couple of things is we've got AGL Captain Ginyu on the team. We'll get back to Cooler for sure. We've got AGL Ginyu on the team. We are also getting close to a Dokkan attack. The Ginyus have done enough super attacks, believe it or not, because they stack defense, of course, and can triple super. They have stacked up enough defense, both of them, because they're both Rainbow Link level 10. They've stacked up enough to actually withstand a Broly super attack, which is pretty impressive, I would say, from a unit that's a year old, or almost a year old over here on Global, a little over a year old on JP. Go ahead and get the active skill here from LR Metal Cooler, who, as I said, is linked up with STR Cooler for the vast majority of the fight. Now, right here, I decide to float off LR Cooler. It just, to me at the time, it just seemed like the right thing to do based on where these super attacks were lined up. I found it to be the least likely, and what the fuck are you going to do, man? You kind of just got to tip your hat to Broly if he decides to super attack in the last slot. I can assure you that I have had one attack in the last slot, and Broly, of course, is super attacking in the last slot, and you just can't really do much about it. You just, like I said, you tip your hat to him. But it seemed like the best idea here to go ahead and float off LRSTR Cooler. He's actually rocking the least amount of defense. Now, he's got probably the highest defensive potential here, but I just feel like AGL Golden Frieza in the first slot made the most sense to me right here. 90% damage reduction. We've got, again, the odds of it being in slot 1, the super attack, are very high here. I think he's getting attacked, is that 7 times in slot 1? I mean, that was a pretty good turn of events. And you need to have some good luck here if you're going for no item runs. And that goes for anything, even the Infinite Dragon Ball History or something like that. Like, you need a little bit of RNG to go your way. And I felt like the next most likely place we would get supered, remember Broly can double super, right? We do indeed end up getting super attacked right here. Not going to take too much damage here with AGL Golden Frieza out front. But I felt like the next most likely place, of course, was after Metal Cooler attacks. Decide to just go for the 12 key right here. I think the key kind of fell funny because I didn't want AGL Golden Frieza to maybe inadvertently get the Dokkan attack here. So I think I kind of split up the key funny is what ended up happening. And then we end up getting the Dokkan attack, of course, on the next turn. And here's Cooler, man, getting the 10 milli burger right here. That always looks nice, again, especially when he can rip off 5 of those. But if the boy is not critting, there is just not much I can do about it, man. You gotta count on your big-time damage dealers to do the damage sometimes. And I kept running into that, particularly when we were in like 7th inning stretch time against Broly. In a lot of these runs, I told you I'd get him down to 1 health bar, or there were a couple runs beyond that where I'd get him down to like 3 health bars. And, Cooler wasn't critting. Ginyu wasn't critting. A lot of these units just weren't doing enough damage. This is that one fight in the game, that really tough fight where you cannot use dodge as a crutch to dodge a clutch super attack or something. It's like your units, it's like what you see is what you get. You have to be able to tank these supers. There's no other choice in this particular fight. So we saw the big time 600k defensive stat there from AGL Captain Ginyu. I feel comfortable. I feel confident with that. Remember, we're also getting a bit of damage reduction from that loyalty link. So that loyalty link linked up with STR, Raccoon, Guldo is definitely going to take a bit off of AGL Broly's super attack. 1.2 million damage all of a sudden only turns into about 400k at this point, which is really, really nice, even against Captain Ginyu, who's, again, all he's doing is stacking defense. He's got that one link that's providing damage reduction, but that's it, man. I mean, this is just raw Ginyu defense. So I didn't need to put Raccoon and Guldo in slot 1. I knew we were sitting on the Dokkan attack. So I just said, fuck it, I'm putting Ginyu in slot 1. Let's see what happens. And if he gets supered, it's okay. And then if Raccoon and Guldo get supered, it's okay. If the Ginyu on the end gets supered, it is okay. So that's just kind of where we're at in this run. Now, one other problem, so you're seeing it here, is I'm not really doing damage. Broly still has 5 more health bars to go. And remember, that's after the Dokkan attack. He's got 5 more health bars to go. So I knew I still had my work cut out for me. Now, we have a pretty good rotation. The next rotation, I believe, is the Metal Cooler. And then the 2 Golden Freezes. So I obviously felt pretty comfortable in that rotation. Remember, no matter where we get supered in the next turn, we're safe. The Golden Freezes can eat it. And then LR Metal Cooler, he can go ahead and get the revive. We're still sitting on the revive, which I felt was like another big piece of this fight. See, 400k there, not too bad at all. So that was also some support from the other Ginyu, so keep that in mind too. So for whatever reason in my, tiny monkey brain, I decided to leave Tech Golden Frieza in slot 1. Again, in my brain, I'm like, oh, he's got type advantage and 70% damage reduction. He should tank better than the AGL. Well, that's not the case. AGL Golden Frieza tanks double digits easily. So I don't know what I was doing. I mean, we're not taking like gobs of damage or anything. We're only taking, 4-digit damage, but you guys, I don't know if you've run this fight or tried to do no items with this team or anything, but every little bit of damage, every little bit of defense, every little bit of HP counts in this fight. You need it because you cannot dodge this asshole. We talk a lot about dodging in today's day and age. So right here, again, even if my LR Metal Cooler has full dodge and it doesn't matter if the dodge were to proc, it doesn't matter because Broly cancels it. So we're able to take enough damage here, even after the super attack, to die. So that was actually, I thought that was kind of cool, because we were able to do a couple million, kind of damage, quote unquote, like for free, right? We were able to get a little bit of extra damage. I actually don't know how much damage he did, but we were able to do a little bit more damage to AGL Broly. And then we're able to just get the full heal and then move into the next turn. And we've got Raccoon and Guldo, we've got AGL Captain Ginyu, and we have STR Cooler. So we have a chance right here to put Broly out of his misery right here. It's kind of crazy. You look at the point in the fight, neither of the Ginyus have transformed. I was able to maintain a high amount of HP for a couple of different reasons. I feel like the main reason was LR Metal Cooler, right? He heals every single turn. So if Broly just does a little bit of damage to us, we're healing on the very next rotation. So I felt like leaving LR Metal Cooler on rotation was a good idea. And then again, we just sat and sat and sat on that revive the whole entire fight. So it really proved to be beneficial. And then every little bit here counts. So we're able to get a kind of a, I don't want to call it a big crit, but kind of a big crit from Raccoon and Guldo, right? Able to eke out a little bit more damage here. Ginyu still super effective against all types here, which is really, really good. I actually would have preferred to transform into Goku Ginyu. I really would have. We just weren't really ever able to drop low enough to do it. It just, it's a turn 3, 70% or less HP. So again, we're going to tank fine here. We're going to take around 400k, and that's okay. Like, we can tank it. We're good. Now, the problem lies in that we have Cooler. That's not a problem, right? 7 million attack stats, not too crazy. But he does have a lot of crit. So we do indeed get a big crit right there. 4 million attack stat. Again, not too impressive, but I have max crit in my Cooler. I'm going to see, actually after this fight, I'm going to see if I can get more crit into my Cooler, because he's got a crit. He's got a crit on his active skill. He's got a crit on all these attacks. So we get one more, and then we get one more. So the quad super from Cooler is what's going to clutch it out right here. Type disadvantage. He ends up not getting a crit on this last one. But goddamn, dude, what an intense run that was. It really didn't get too sweaty in terms of like HP and stuff, but it did get sweaty there a couple of times. You just never know where Broly's going to super attack. But guys, we get the no item run done. I'm tired of the fucking Ginyu slander. Y'all shut up now. Slap a like if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you're new. Love you guys. Catch you in the next one. Later.